and episode 159. Welcome into the Bench is Clear podcast, where we cover the best rivalry in all of sports. I am Jesse Gutierrez, and I represent the side of the San Francisco Giants, whose season just started because the season's over.
And I'm, representing the Dodgers side, Dave over here, who, you're champions, baby. You're world freaking champions.
Well, let's talk about.
We're gonna lord it over Jesse from now to the end of time, or until he kicks me out of the podcast. Whatever it is, we're gonna lord it over him forever.
You don't have to.
It's a must.
You could just be just a cool guy and not have to do that. But we should talk about what the buzz that's all going around Major League Baseball.
The important stuff first. You're right.
But really, the stuff that anyone cares about, and that is the Diamondbacks' worst signing of all time has come back to haunt them because he is coming back for another year. Jordan Montgomery to the Diamondbacks.
Well, we got a bunch of little nuggets here, man. You got him coming back.
It's a hot stove, baby.
You got another pitcher who just opted out. I'm sure you're familiar with him, Blake Snell.
Second half. The thing is, the season's over, so this will be first half Blake Snell. So we don't like first half Blake Snell, so that's fine.
Okay. And then as soon as the parade was over for LA, they had a bunch of free agents, Trinan, Teoscar, Kike, a bunch of them. So, but that Montgomery one is pretty hilarious to me because the owner flat out said one of the worst signings they've ever made.
Yeah.
And Montgomery just like, all right, well, screw you. I'm going to make you pick up the tab for $22.5 million. And good for him.
Yeah, that's and then you're also forgetting the biggest trade. I mean, because the stove is so freaking hot right now. Everyone's talking about it. There's no other baseball news besides Jordan Montgomery and the fact that forever Giant Jorge Soler is now an Anaheim Angel, brother to the GM brothers, the Giants and the Angels. So,
the guy just
we'll
can't stick in their place, huh? They keep moving him around.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't get it because he's good, but I guess he's not like. I don't know. When you're thinking of a DH and you're getting someone who's taken up that spot, you want someone who is not only just like above average, but like way above average. And Jorge Soler is like above average. I would say he's like, what's that?
I'm trying to figure out how old is. Oh, okay, he's 32 years old.
Okay, I did not know that. I thought he was older than that. So that is news to me. I don't know. I just feel I don't know if that's crazy to say, but I just I mean, he has a lot of power, but there's not a whole lot of consistency there. So I would imagine he's more of just considered like an above average. I mean, you look at all the different kind of metrics, the the OPS pluses and all that kind of stuff. It's like it's a little bit over average. So, but you get no defense from that.
Well, I mean, from the Braves' perspective, I get it. They're losing a couple of free agents, freed. But right. That doesn't look like he's coming back at all. They would have gotten a deal done if that was the case. And so you get a pitcher who, there's times where he's looked spectacular for the Angels.
Right.
And he's only making about, $6 million or something like something ridiculous.
Right.
In arbitration, which ponders the question, like, why would you make this trade? Like, Angels fans are like, yeah, he sucked a lot of the times for us. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but Mike Trout is a future DH, man. He can't stay healthy, so you're going to have to put him in a corner at least, and then maybe rotate him with the DH. And Soler, it's the same thing, man. He's not a gold glover out there, I don't think. Right. He can't play center field. He's got to be in the corners, so that's two spots. I don't know, man. It seems risky to me with guys like Rendon, Trout, and now Soler. Like, those are – the IL is going to be pretty busy.
Right. Yeah, I guess we should talk about it, right? You have the floor.
You're trying to delay the inevitable, and that's fine, but we got to talk about it.
I guess so. Whatever, dude. Yeah. So this team called the Dodgers won the World Series, and That sucks. And in other news, no, I feel like this is the question. I feel like I'm not sure if anyone's even going to believe you if you answer this the way I think you're going to answer it, but I think I'm going to give you the opportunity to maybe lie, whatever. Does this feel the same as the 2020 World Series?
Okay, I'm just gonna be completely honest because there's no reason to lie, right? But
Don't lie.
I had never seen a World Series, right? So I wanted my team for the longest time since I've been a fan out. I just wanted to see them in a World Series,
Right.
and I got that opportunity when they made it in 2017, and I was like, man, well, they were playing Chicago, and I was like, man, I just make it, please. I just want to see them there. Like, you're bartering in your mind, like, I don't care if they lose. I just want to see them in a World Series in my lifetime, kind of thing. Then they get there and they lose, and you're like, oh man, I really want to see them win. So, cut to 3 years later after another loss in 2018. That was just special, man. I don't know how to describe it. It was really special because I know everybody was at home. I know the circumstances, but to feel that feeling of your team winning a championship, nobody can take it from you. It's a special feeling. But you didn't get to share it with everybody else.
It sounds so dumb though, right? Because
it does.
You say this to someone who doesn't love a certain sport or love a certain team, and you're like, oh, they can't take it away from you. It's like the best feeling, and it sounds so dumb because you don't play it and you're not in the team, but it does. Like, it feels like you did do so, like you actually achieved something.
Yeah, like first of all, you're watching 26 men play a kids game, and it dictates how you're going to feel for the rest of either the year, whatever it is. And it's crazy to think about it that way. But yeah, I mean, 2020 was great. We just didn't get to celebrate with the fans, and it was just a big monkey off their back because everybody didn't want to respect it. I mean, even the teams that had the same opportunities that were in the playoffs that couldn't get it done, they, for some reason, they're like, hey, you know what, whatever. Like, it's not real. It was a smaller season. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Right.
Guys like Verdugo, guys that were like open about it. And so it was so sweet for him to be the last out. And for this season to be like, you know what? We did it. What can you even say now? Like, you can talk about money. You're paying your players too. They're not playing for free. Every team pays to the players, whether they want to spend more. That's on your owner. So I don't care about you spend this much or you spend that much. You can do it too. But there's nothing to say now. I mean, at least for this year until this following year, everybody's got to bite their tongue, or whatever the comebacks they say, whatever they try to argue, it's going to fall on deaf ears because they did it. And they did it in a year where half of their pitching staff, if not all of it, was gone. And nobody picked them. I know it sounds ridiculous because it was the mighty Dodgers. They spent so much. Nobody wanted to pick them because they had no pitching, and they were very right to do so. I mean, the Padres, had they scored in the last 24 innings, had the same path to make it to the World Series and maybe win their first one. So, it's very validating. That's for sure.
Right. So, does it feel the same? Do you hold this one in higher regard than 2020, or you feel it's the same?
I don't know. I think it does feel different. The first one for me will always be special because, like I said, I finally got to see one. But the fact that you got to enjoy it with everyone, and you got to celebrate together, it is different. It does feel different. It does feel better. You can say that now and be like, yeah, it does feel better to be able to celebrate with everybody.
Right,
like,
right.
I'm not diminishing what they accomplished in 2020 because I was ecstatic, and I still am. I respect it, but it's a different kind of feeling when you're able to celebrate with everybody. A whole city coming together to celebrate. It's just a different feeling.
Yeah, for sure. I in watching this, I don't know if I've ever seen a more open path for the Dodgers. In the Mets having the 4 days off, and they kind of lost their steam. After the Padres was honestly, that felt more like the World Series than any other series. And it felt like the Yankees just didn't, not that, and in no way am I saying like it should be a knock on the Dodgers, because the Dodgers that was always the excuse. That was always the argument against them every year. It was like, oh, they got cold. Oh, or, these people got hurt and, they ran into the hottest team and that sort of thing. It just felt like everything clicked for the Dodgers. And it also felt like, like I said, besides the Padres series, the other two series were like almost like the other team did not have a chance. After game 2 of the World Series, it was like there was no, I feel like, opening to be like, oh, the Yankees might win this. Like there was no, I understand for Dodger fans, you're so emotionally involved in it that you are going to be freaking out and you are going to be worried, especially the 10 years or the 13 years of not getting it, those horrors come back to you. But someone who has no real skin in the game, it was kind of just like, okay, well, of course the Dodgers are going to win. There's no, like the Mets have no chance right now. They look like two completely different level teams right now. That's how I felt about the Yankees and the Mets. So I think everything clicked, everything went right for you guys. And not in no way is that a knock on like, oh, it should be diminished. It's just like it just all the stars aligned. And I think that even happens for like teams that are like hot. It's like, well, the stars align because, just this throwaway guy is like, goes off and has the, the series of his life. And then, they're just hot. Just everything's clicking. It just felt like everything was clicking for the Dodgers and like no one had a shot.
And it's, and sometimes things are just like, they're meant to be a certain way because you're like, well, if they had everybody, if they had Glasnow and if they had this other person, they would have just ran through the playoffs. But it doesn't work out that way, man, because the Padres had a really strong roster. And and they were just shut down by the Dodgers bullpen. And like the Yankees had a really good club. Like they had bombers and all this, and they actually out hit the Dodgers. They hit more home runs, but again, the Dodgers, played a little bit better when it mattered, and they played fundamental baseball, and exactly that's what helped them. So,
and I don't want to take this away. Like, I guess I don't mind taking away from the Dodgers because fuck the Dodgers, but like it just felt like the Yankees like beat themselves. Like in game 1, just the weirdness of Nestor Cortez for the first time pitching in however long. You're going to put him in that situation is very strange. I don't know the ins and outs of the Yankees. I'm not going to pretend to know who they should have put in. I just know from an outside perspective that was like, right now, really? Oh, okay. Like,
so I was finally wrong on the postseason because I said 6 games, right? And when we got to 4, I was like, oh shit, we might just do it in 4, and that's awesome. But we got to 5, whatever. But I did say, I'm like, I think we have the advantage in the dugout. And I said, if we have a moment where Aaron Boone has a brain dead decision, I'm like, that's only going to help us. And unfortunately for them, it happened in the worst possible spot.
Oh gosh, I felt like that was his like, that's one thing that I'm like, when you hear, no matter what happens, right? A fan base is going to talk shit about their manager. He's always the scapegoat. But that was one thing that I was like, I feel like they're completely justified. I don't know the ins and outs of the Yankees. Like I said, it could have been a thing of, well, who else did we have? This guy's been throwing. This guy's been throwing. Oh my gosh, Nestor just owns Freddie, or Nestor's so good lefty on lefty. This is the best spot for. I don't know. On the outside, it was like, it was very head scratching. And I went. I was out with my family. There was they played the movie Coco in this big like amphitheater, outside amphitheater. And the movie ended right when the 9th inning was starting. And I think they got 2 outs or something like that pretty quickly, or was 1 out pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, cool. So I freaking, I'm packing up all my shit, getting all my, carrying a bunch of stuff, probably carrying my son. I don't even remember. And, you're thinking everything's okay. And then you look at your phone and you're like, wait, the Dodgers won 6-3. How the hell did that just happen? And then you kind of go through all the little shits. And it's like, that's such a weird decision. I don't know.
Especially
and then obviously
you had Tim Hill. Like, you had a lefty who's a specialist for that. And if you're gonna walk Mookie,
I would think about
why
that.
are
He's
you?
like doing good for them.
Yeah, like if you're gonna walk Mookie because Nestor owns Mookie, he's 0 for 6 or whatever it is. So if you're not gonna let him face him, why would you let him face the guy that's like a contact hitter when a base hit can win a game? Freddie Freeman does not strike out, man. Like
Thank you for that
he'll
breakdown.
he'll put the ball in play. And sure, he was hobbled, even more than we knew, by the way. I don't know if you saw the article that came out.
No.
But apparently he had a busted rib. So he was playing on a busted rib,
Wow.
a messed up ankle, and a broken finger. And so hero stuff from him, man. And I think when that home run happened, I think that killed like the Yankees for a while.
Yeah.
I think for at least the next 2 games, they might have been walking like zombies because they did not look like they were into the games or like really in it. You know, I know the games ended like with a couple of late inning hits for them and runs, but they never seemed like they were in it for those first 3 games.
No. Yeah, 100%. Game 1 was extremely entertaining. Game 2 and 3 was snooze fest. It was like the Dodgers took control, and it was like they did not give it back. In no way did anybody from the outside, besides probably Dodger fans, were thinking anyone else but the Dodgers were going to win both those games while they were going on. And then obviously game 4, the Yankees showed some life. And then game 5, and in game 4, they even had like their little rallying cry of the guy trying to take the ball away from Mookie. They were kind of making that with their identity for a little bit. Which did you hate that? I didn't 100% see what you thought about social media wise, but
I thought it was I thought it was a big deal. I think when you put the players safety in jeopardy, you shouldn't joke about it. You know?
Safety? You think he was unsafe?
When he grabbed the ball to the glove, I'm like, okay, but the other guy grabbed his wrist. Absolutely nothing to do with the play, and I'm like, that I have a problem with. You want to grab the ball on the glove, that's fine. The glove can come off, and you're still good. But you're grabbing his wrist and you're trying to dangle him, then something could happen if you were to grab him. That's the only part I had a problem with.
I could see that. I just didn't. I thought people were kind of making a little bit bigger of a deal of it than it needed to or should have been, just because as it was happening, all the umpires were like out. Like there was no like, what do you say? Like confrontation or like, oh, let's get together and see what actually happened. Like it was like, dude, stop. But it seemed to somehow like awoken the Yankees a little bit. And then all of a sudden, they're playing normal all the way up until the 5th inning of game 5. And
that's one thing I got to give the Dodgers, and I hope people give them credit for that. They're very professional when it comes to that kind of stuff. We saw it with Profar, and he blew a fuse, man. He was crying. He was telling everybody, hey, it's this guy. Look at this. And, whatever. That's him. Mookie, after the whole play, after everything that was done, he said, he's like, I told my wife that was only the 2nd time I wanted to fight someone. But immediately after the game, he's like, hey, man, I'm good. He's good. Whatever. Let's move on.
Right. He didn't want to make it a story. He didn't want to make it a rallying cry.
Exactly. He didn't want to give him more thing than it was. And so I respect that, because later on, he's like, yeah, dude, no, fuck that guy. I wanted to fight him. And he could have reacted that way on the field.
Right. Yeah. And I feel like it was the same, the beginning of the Profar stuff and the Mookie Betts. I feel like that was pretty close to the same thing of like, it's kind of funny, but it's not that big of a deal. Obviously when fans start throwing stuff on the field for the Dodgers, that's where it made a turn when, throwing like the random shit and throwing balls at Profar was a thing. And then also when the other guys grabbing, Mookie's wrist, like, I was like, don't fucking touch me. Like, I like, that's when I think it starts making turns. But the initial, hey, give me the ball. Fuck you. I'm throwing it over there. And let me try to get this ball out of your glove. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think the only difference is that one player was taunting the fans and the other one didn't do
that.
So that's when I'm like, if you're taunting the fans on the road and you're known for that and you thrive on that, don't be a bitch later on and cry
Yeah.
because you want to rile them up. So
Yeah, rounding them up and getting stuff thrown at you, I think, is two completely different things.
no, for sure. I don't agree with them throwing anything to him, but I'm just saying like there's a chance something like that might happen if you want to rile them up,
Right,
especially when it already
right.
happened in Oracle Park. It's
Right.
already happened to you before, so you know what you do. Don't act
Right.
surprised when it happens again.
Yeah, I've if I'm in the bleachers, right, and I'm yelling at a player, and he turns around, either taunts me or says something bad, I like that. Like that's kind of like, you feel like you get more involved. So I don't mind the taunting. If I'm a fan, I like that even more if a player's trying to taunt me, because I'm hoping my team does something where I can continue to yell at him. Hopefully, he doesn't get the best of you, but so that part doesn't bug me. You just gotta I feel like all Yankees fans felt the same thing. I didn't hear anything but Yankees lost, beat themselves. Not to take away anything from the Dodgers, but the Yankees beat themselves with those errors. They had a clear shot to get back into the World Series, and then not only is there a dropped ball in center field, but you can't make one throw from shortstop to third base, not even a tag play, a force play. And then in the obvious, not covering first. Either of them could have covered. Either of them should have and could have gotten there. So
I don't blame
you could
Rizzo.
even count that as probably 4 errors.
Sure, but I still don't blame Rizzo, man. That ball,
I do.
When I saw it and you see the spin on the ball, he backed up enough to make the play, and Garrett Cole was halfway there before he just stopped. I don't understand that move at all, and it changed everything for them. But sure, they're both at fault, but I'm just saying I blame
100%.
more Cole because that's your job. Even there has to be a backup plan. Like that's your job.
100%.
It was just a brain fart there. I don't understand.
But I don't know. My thing is, you get the ball and you plan to go. So you need to get the ball and you need to be in the motion of going. You can't just be like, get the ball and I'm going to look up and then I'm caught with my pants between my legs. You got, especially on the World Series when there was literally 2 errors that just happened in front of you. Like you got to give me the ball and then start making them. Even if you're going to get beat, like get the ball and start making the move. And then if he's not there, you try to do your best. And if he is there, all you got to do is still toss it. So, that's literally little league shit that you should be doing. So like, I hate to harp on that because it's like, yeah, everyone's thinking the same thing, but it's like, dude, 2 errors just happened. You're like one of the veterans in, not even just on the Yankees, but just in baseball, of well-respected veterans. You shouldn't be caught with your pants, down at your ankles at that moment.
There was also a report that came out that was talking about how the Dodgers scouted the Yankees. It was very telling. Apparently, it said that Dodgers were surprised how badly they positioned their outfielders. They're like, there's so many times that balls are coming in and they're just dribbling into the infield. The throws are being dribbled in because they're out of position. They're like, how many times we saw that Jazz is just literally standing on an action play. He's like not even taking part of the play. He's just standing around looking at the play himself. And he's like, it said on the thing, if you run with purpose, intent, you'll make them nervous. You'll make them make errors. And I mean, true to the word, like we saw it. Volpe had the ball, and I guess he just felt the pressure of Kike being fast and decided, oh shoot, I got to throw it now. Like if you took his time, he probably had a chance to get somebody out at second, and maybe the inning is over or whatever. But
yeah,
decides to one hop it to the third baseman, and he's lucky it didn't get past him.
Yeah, which is great. You never want to do, which I'm sure we'll get into Gold Glove stuff a little bit later, because both teams did have some Gold Glove finalists. Giants had one more, no big deal. Obviously, that means we're the better team. But
their catcher, I forgot. I'm sorry, their catcher had a catcher's interference too. Like you just had
I feel like it's not their fault though. I'm going to be honest with you because we talked about it with oh my gosh, Tyler Heineman when he was on the pod a while ago about how like the new age of trying to get those low strikes, you're kind of left out to dry. You have to do your best, but they want the framing. They want the framing, and it's like it's really hard, to so it's like yeah, that's a really bad time for it, but it's like I don't know, man. The way they position catchers now, it makes it very difficult. So I don't think it's not like a lazy thing. I think it's like a you know an unfortunate type deal.
And on the opposite side, man, you saw the defense. I know that the Dodgers weren't the best, but Tommy Edmonds saved a couple of runs numerous
Right.
times, diving up the middle and making sure that the ball didn't get squeezed through. And it
Right.
saved runs because later on the Yankees just wouldn't come through. Even if they
Right.
scored one here or there, like it stopped the big inning a
Right.
lot of those times. So just attention to details and stuff like that is what really won the Dodgers the World Series.
Yeah, for sure. And like I was saying, like I understand, like you never want to like judge someone based on one play, but Anthony Volpe is a Gold Glove finalist. Like he's supposed to be one of the guys, and it's like, I don't know, because we would be. I feel like, well, I guess it would have been for sure, but if they would have got out of that inning before any damage happened, one of those three errors didn't happen. We'd been podcasting yesterday preparing for game 6. So
Definitely.
like and not only that, you got so much momentum. Yeah, you're going back to Dodger Stadium, but you got so much momentum going at like that would have changed the World Series. Like yeah, game 4 was pretty Yankees won and it didn't seem like it was like that tight of a game, but um I don't know, man. Just the 2 in the row like that, I think that would give the thought of the Yankees can actually do this and maybe make the Dodgers nervous.
I don't know. This team seemed pretty focused. Maybe they would have been shell shocked a little bit to be shut out if that was the case, but I still thought the Dodgers had the horses to be able to beat them because then you're facing Rodon, and he hasn't been very good.
Right.
And if he fails, then if they win that game, then you're facing Clark Schmidt, which you're not taking Clark Schmidt over anybody. So I don't think so. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
But also, you're also having a team that's playing a guy with a broken rib, a guy with a messed up shoulder. So if at any point you had the chance to take them down, it was then, and they squandered that opportunity.
Yeah, I think that there's probably like 3 or 4 Dodger teams that lost in the NLDS or NLCS, in numerous years that were better than the Dodgers team that won the World Series. I mean, yeah, they had Shohei on it, but you only had Shohei as a DH. He didn't show up at all. Freddie has one leg and a broken rib, and I think that there was no pitching on here as well. So this Dodger team, I felt like was pretty gettable, and they found a way to not get got. So
I think if the Yankees had faced the Dodgers team that faced the Mets that were healthier and just a little bit better, they would have been swept easily. Those
Right.
Dodgers seemed like they were just on everything. But these Dodgers, they came in even more banged up or whatever it was, and
Right.
there was opportunity for the Yankees to take it. They just didn't capitalize.
And I think I've heard this somewhere else too, and I completely agree with it. I think the World Series is pretty much Dodgers and Padres. I think whoever won that series, looking back on how everything else played out, would have won the World Series. If the Padres would have, won that game 5, we would be talking about how the Padres won the World Series. So, yeah, because I mean the Phillies were the new version of what the Dodgers were every single year. The Mets, I think if they didn't have 4 days off, I think would have been more competitive. I don't know if they would have beaten the Dodgers, but I think they definitely would have been more competitive, maybe even brought it to a game 7 or maybe even 1, who knows? But timing is a thing. Sometimes you get killed with timing, sometimes it works in your favor. That's all part of it. So
Yeah. I mean, I think the Mets, one of their bigger losses also, or they were hamstrung by Nimmo. The fact that he couldn't play the way he usually plays. Like he's a spark plug for them, but his feet were messed up. And you can tell every time he was going out there and running and limping and everything. And that's a huge piece for them. I don't think they had
wasn't
enough
running as hard on walks.
Exactly. I don't think they had enough pitching to ultimately take the Dodgers down, but it would have made it harder if he was healthier. I think he's a big piece for them.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see it. But
But
and then
I will
also
say,
Jeff McNeil. I feel like Jeff McNeil is a contact king. I mean, and there was multiple times where there was like a big opportunity would come and it's Jeff McNeil. And it's like, oh, dude, something's gonna happen. Either someone's gonna have to make a good play, or he gets a base hit, and he was striking out left and right. So,
the
um,
the only team I can compare this Dodgers team a little bit, I think they're better than them. The 2017 Dodgers. I think that team was. They always found a way to try to come back. They always fought. Ultimately, they couldn't get it done. We know why, but this team, if you can sum it up in one word, is just resilient. They went through a lot, and I know it's easier to say when you have money and you can cover a lot of those, the stuff that's going on. But they lost the whole rotation. Freddie with everything he went on at home. Mookie was gone for 2 months. I mean, the Shohei. I know everybody's saying he got carried in the postseason in the World Series, and sure he was hurt. I think that hampered him a little bit, but he carried us the whole regular season. So,
yeah,
um,
I'm gonna disagree with you. That's probably the only better because you think back on a prime Kershaw with Greinke and fucking Ryu in his prime. Like there was, I mean maybe not obviously the offense is probably
yeah,
the
I
best
think that's what
Dodgers
I'm
team has
saying. Like
seen.
the talent would win out on this team though, compared to those. No,
I don't know because I mean at that especially in those times when you're thinking of I'm not sure who was actually on the 15 team. Was it the 15 team that had Greinke and Kershaw on it?
yes, yeah, that's the
So
one
I
that
didn't know
lost
if
the
that
Mets in the first
was.
round.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think that was. I think that was before Bellinger's time. I don't know what the offensive lineup is just off the top of my head, but yeah, I know Seager was part of it, and
He was a rookie.
okay. So yeah, I mean, in all honesty, I mean, and no, nothing's going to compete with Mookie, Freddie, and Shohei,
Otani.
but
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
this talent wins out here, man. I think this was the
talent
most
wise, yeah, but
compelling.
at the same time, when you have no rotation, like I, I don't know, a deep rotation that sometimes the Dodgers had going into it, and they just couldn't score. You know, um,
The funny
there's
part
definitely
is
arguments that can be made.
the funny part is that fans have been clamoring for like, oh, we need a gritty team. We need a gritty team. And it took 1.2 billion spent on the offseason to end up ultimately with one of the grittiest teams I've ever seen. Like they just fought back regardless of the adversity. But
Anniversary, all the anniversaries they
anniversary
had.
of the adversity of all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I couldn't be happier for this squad, and I couldn't be happier for the city of LA and all of us, man. I know you hate it, but
Yes.
um, it's just finally.
Yeah. Taking my son trick or treating in my giant hat like a sad boy when everyone's all excited.
Hey,
Bad
but your
times, hard
wife was
times here.
happy, man. Be happy for your wife. Be happy through
Listen,
your wife.
my wife is married to me, so she can only she can only handle so much happiness. I don't know if she's gonna be able to handle it. I don't know if she's just gonna be overtaken by, you know, happiness to where she's not gonna be able to function. So let's
Then
think everyone needs to send her
you take
thoughts and
some of that
prayers because
happiness and apply it to yourself, and just be happy for a little bit.
no. Those are the no's my son's been giving me lately. No. So
And one
uh
last guy that I want to talk about, um, Walker Bueller, dude. I don't know how many times
yeah.
we had the segment when we kept saying dud, dud. Hey man, you can't start this guy anymore. It's a liability. And I'm sure he heard it from everybody, or he heard the noise all around him, and to the point that he even said himself he thought he was going to be cut. But he came back, and postseason Bueller, without those errors in San Diego, the whole postseason looks like an ace-like kind of performance. And for him to come out and do that at the end, I didn't know if it was the right move. I was still, of course, I was still a little like, I don't know if this is going to work out. But the way he looked, he just had a certain look in his eye that like, I'm not going to let this team down. And
Right.
I mean, he looked like a closer. He just looked nasty. And
Right.
it's pretty awesome that he was the one to be able to close it out.
Yeah, that's where I kind of like when it's that close and it's going back and forth, and especially I'm watching, obviously really wanted the Yankees to win. That's the only time I really felt like, fuck, dude, it is over. Like when he came out, like it felt right. Like it felt like, okay, this is how it ends.
Yeah.
Like so.
If there was a script, this is what they wrote. You know what I mean? Like
For
this
sure.
is perfect. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, eat it up. That's fine. Be happy. You get your couple months of whatever, and then is it World Series or bust again? Is it like you got to win the World Series 10 years in a row or else you suck?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think well, it depends on the move they're going to make in the offseason. If they're going to spend even more money, then you're like, yeah, dude, you kind of got to get back there.
What the fuck? I swear you talk about signing Soto.
I mean, we're losing Teoscar.
I swear we're reading "Don't Kill Ourselves" books, and you're over here. I just
we might lose Teoscar. There's some big free agents that might leave, so we'll see what they do. But I think that is the thing. Unfortunately, we both don't think that way. We both think that it's stupid to kind of like not enjoy a whole season if you lose. Like, right. Oh, I just want to forget about that season. But no, there's a lot of moments in the season that you can look back that you enjoyed, that brought you joy, sadness, whatever it is, all of it, regardless of the outcome at the end. But unfortunately, when you're these big teams, you're viewed a little bit differently, and
for sure,
you don't get the same kind of.
And you always want like your players to feel that way, like your organization. Yeah, you want them to feel that way. But as fans, you can't expect a World Series every year. I feel like that's such a spoiled crybaby Veruca Salt take. If you're a fan, but you know, I have no problem with Yankees players or Yankees fans being like, hey, we made the World Series, we came up a little short, we fucked up on, take ownership for, hey, we should have played better fundamental baseball, we could have been more in this, but we got to take the positives that we made the World Series and try to get back there next year. I don't think that's the worst thing in the world to say.
The problem I see with Yankee fans is that they have this, they still think they're the old Yankees.
Right. Where no one else tried. Right.
Yeah, like they're like, oh well, you guys are sore winners. We've been there. You guys don't even know how to act and all this. We blah 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 blah. I'm like, dude, you guys haven't made it back since what has it been now? A decade now? Like, or you haven't won one in a decade now. Like, you're not those old
decade Yankees. And a half.
Be happy that you had a great year.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous to not be happy that you made it there.
15 effing years, dude. Like, yeah, it's you. Yeah, like I feel like you can feel like, hey, we made the World Series, successful season, we got to build to get better, call it a day, but don't be freaking emo sad boy in the corner. No positives to take from being in the World Series. Okay, so you weren't excited to get to the World Series, you weren't excited to go to a World Series game. Like, come on, dude.
And I'm not like, I know no team has done it like back to back in a long time. The Yankees were probably the last ones to do it, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think
so. I'm not like thinking here like, yeah, it's World Series or bust next year, because I know how hard it's going to be already. They already get their best shot at them just because they're the Dodgers, and they spent whatever they did. Now with the championship, it's a bit even bigger target on their back.
Everybody else's World Series, and we're back on that. So,
well, yeah. So I'll be happy if whatever they do next year.
The closest thing in more recently, there was one team that won a World Series and didn't, but then won the next year, and then didn't, but then won the next year. So I think I forgot what team it was. But.
It's funny because we're like in this cycle where like, yeah, but we got 88. Yeah, but we got 20. And then you're guys, well, no, look, we got these 3. And now you're like kind of like the Dodgers living in the past. Those championships are getting a little dusty, my guy. They're getting a little dusty. You can look at ours.
Dusty. You were right.
Shiny, brand new.
The crazy thing is now the organization-wise, they're both at eight World Series. So, are you? I guess this is a good time to bring this up. We got to, we're still kind of learning each other, and we need to figure out where we stand on certain issues. It could get heated, just like political, who you voting for, whatever. Do you count Brooklyn and New York World Series?
I think you have to. I don't know. I mean, because people they always tell me like, you weren't alive to see them, so it doesn't count. And I'm like, well, but it's in the history, so it counts. I can't
And you weren't
just
alive for 88 either. So I mean,
one because they played against plumbers. It's
Yeah.
still there. It's still in the record book. You know what I mean? So I can't do that.
but
either
there are
to
plumbers placing each other. Okay, so it's
There you
fine.
go. They're plumbers
They
playing
were
each
all
other.
plumbers.
And there was Babe Ruth, who was,
Yeah.
the only one that could actually play amongst all of them.
Yeah.
But I
That
think
was always my argument for because I would get that all the time. Oh, you actually only have 3. And I was like, oh, first of all, it's not my fault that the Brooklyn Dodgers sucked. It's not my fault. Secondly, it's like, well, do you claim Jackie Robinson or not? You do.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
So you
it's
count
in your
Brooklyn.
history. You can't
Exactly.
deny history.
Yeah, exactly.
Rivalry
Claim Jackie,
aside,
that means you count Brooklyn. That means you count New York's championships. So facto, we got 8 championships.
and so now we're tied, and now we can talk shit to each other and be on an even plane.
An even plane. Man, I think it's time we could talk some Gold Glove stuff. Unless we're leaving anything out of the World Series or anything from the parade that you thought was noteworthy?
I thought it was hilarious. Well, before I get to the parade, I just want to say also to another guy, Dave Roberts, dude. I think he managed beautifully this year. I think a lot of times where they're like, "Hey, man, you're punting the game. What the hell are you doing?" It's you always look back and it's like there was a plan. There was a plan, and they never derived from it, and it worked out. So,
how many head scratching moments from Dave Roberts did you have this postseason? Very few, and even if they did, they ended up working out.
I had one. And it was the bunt of Tommy Edman. We had runners at first and third, nobody out, and he bunted, and it resulted in an out. That is the only time that I was like, you should have let your MVP hit. That's it. Other than that, I have no problem with anything else that he did.
Right. And in all honesty, that was always the story. Dave Roberts, you got to get rid of Dave Roberts. And even in 2020, it felt like they won in spite of him. I think there was a lot of moves, a lot of head scratching pinch hit moves, and I don't remember exactly what the things were, but I remember in 2020 after that World Series having a lengthy discussion of, I'm not sure you can give him too much credit because I think they won in spite of him, in spite of his decisions, and Kevin Cash kind of did you guys a favor with the whole Snell thing, so. But yeah, you're 100% right. I think that's also kind of funny too, because managers are if you're talking about them, they did something bad. And when they do, it seems like they do a lot of shit right. You don't talk about them. So
yeah, the fact that most of the players that were being interviewed were like, "Hey man, don't let it be unnoticed that he managed the hell of a series, a man of postseason." So it means something. So kudos to him. He deserves his flowers. He came through and he made a lot of right decisions.
Right.
As far as the parade goes, I think the biggest thing for me that was the funniest was when they got to Dodger Stadium and Fat Joe is just having an awful time, man. Ever since his performance, man, that, what
happened when Fat Joe
comes out and the crowd goes mild. So ever since then, and then Kike's saying like, "Hey man, when he came out, we knew we had already won." With that performance, I'm like, "Wow, dude, that is rough." So that was probably one of the best moments of the parade and the whole celebration.
Yeah, no, I forgot about the curse of Fat Joe, and I think I came on. I think obviously being a '90s kid, and knowing where 90s rap came from. I think especially if you live on the West Coast, I mean, Ice Cube's like untouchable. So, you have such a good performance and such good vibes with Ice Cube. And then your answer to us, Fat Joe, and no disrespect to Fat Joe, lean back. That's cool. I don't want to be mean to Fat Joe, but if you're going to answer Ice Cube, one of the godfathers of gangster rap and 90s rap in general, and you're going to answer that with Fat Joe?
I was talking to my brother-in-law, and I go, because we were talking about it, we were laughing about it a little. I'm like, I really don't mean any disrespect to Fat Joe. I'm like, I've heard him on podcasts, I've seen him on other stuff. Obviously he's got some bangers. I'm like, I have no disrespect to him, but that was bad. That was a bad move. Like,
You know what's so
just lean
funny?
back.
Somebody
He
with
said
me-
that. He said it like 50 times. I'm like, I don't. Yeah, man. They leaned back and they fell asleep because they let the Dodgers win.
dude, and that's like they were even making fun of him for not being fat anymore, and it's like, dude, it's because he lost. He used to be fat. He just
Like,
lost a
hey,
lot
he's
of weight.
being healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like
I
they
don't
brought
know,
out
man.
Fat
I
Joe,
feel
who's
bad
not
for
even
the guy.
fat. Like you don't understand. He used like I almost feel bad for him, but fuck that is you just got you went into a buzzsaw and you got 8. So that's
I don't
what
expect them
happened.
to ever come back for a baseball game to do a performance after.
Yeah. Oh hell no. Oh, except maybe for the Dodgers and maybe at Dodger Stadium they'll be like, dude, come please. You probably should have got co MVP with Freddie Freeman. Um, I I just there's so many New York artists that like would have been way better. Like you could even done 50 Cent. Like I feel like Jay-Z is probably the obvious one, but I don't know if because he's so deep in with the NFL you can't do he can't, I don't know. But I feel like Jay-Z would have been the guy.
I thought the move was 50 Cent, like you just
Yeah.
said. I thought that was the move. And
Or you
whatever.
can go
I mean,
hard
they
and
didn't do
go with freaking Nas or somebody. Like just somebody who is like the big guy in New York, You could even went new school. I feel like if they went new school and with like Cardi B or something, that probably would have even been better. But like
And you're the
fuck.
Yankees. You're the New York Yankees. You can get literally anybody you want because they're playing the Dodgers, the biggest stage. Like you could have gotten anyone. I don't know who made that choice, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, set up for failure. So I think we're done, right? We don't need to talk about it anymore. We're wrapped up. We can just pretty much forget that it ever happened.
I guess so, man. I just want to say, like, extremely grateful. I'm glad to be on this podcast.
I know. You get on the podcast for not even for a full effing year, and we do this on a World Series. Oh, this is terrible.
The amount of people at the parade was insane. People were there from 5 a.m. The dedication to this team, the support that this team has is incredible. And they got to see it firsthand, and they got to see the love that they have for them. And I just couldn't be happier that we finally got to celebrate together.
Yeah. Must be
as
nice.
much as it hurts you. And I really don't want to like rub salt on the wound because whatever. I just want to be happy.
Here's the thing. You can rub as much salt as you want because you got to understand when the Giants finally get back to being relevant, and I'm going to throw everything I can into your wounds. So go for it. Go.
I hope so. I hope so. But now I have ammo. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
I
go
hope
for it.
That next year we're both super competitive and we're both go to the end or whatever, and we beat you, and then I have even more ammo. But that's what this rivalry needs. We need it to revive it because we don't need the Padres. They're little brother. You think cool? You got new toys. You're whatever. You're still ringless. We don't whatever. We need the Giants to be better because that's better cinema.
Was it the speech that what's his face gives to Ricky Bobby?
If you ain't first, you're last.
Oh man, yeah, something like that. So we're done. It's over. We never even have to. Probably don't even need to put it on shirts or anything because we don't need to see it. What we could talk about is the end of season awards because obviously that's what measures how good teams are. And Gold Glove I think is the only thing that's really come out. I believe that I've seen. Maybe I've just snoozed and didn't realize maybe awards have been coming out too, but I haven't seen it.
Was Chapman in the finalist?
Yeah, so finalists for Gold Gloves, 3R Giants got third base Chapman, catcher is Patrick Bailey, and right field is Mike Yastrzemski. For the Dodgers, Will Smith for catching, obviously, and Kike Hernandez for a utility role. Which I feel like that might be a new thing. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but yeah. I think it just goes to show 3-2. 3 is better than 2. We are better than you. So we actually won the World Series.
We said it all year. We don't care what
it's
awards we win. Yeah, like we don't. Who cares about those awards at this point? They got the award that they wanted. So
yeah,
I don't think they're going to lose any sleep if they lose the Gold Glove award.
Right. So yeah, those are the Giants and the Dodgers finalists. I think it's also very noteworthy. I'm not sure what this means, But Giants have a GM now. And he is actually brother to the Angels GM. It is Mike Minasian. We looked that up before we started the podcast, and apparently that's how you pronounce the last name. So that's what we're going with. Until we hear differently, until there's a press conference, that's what we're going with. He was weird because it's a Farhan hire, but if you were paying attention at all, Buster Posey, all he talked about was one someone with a scouting background, and this was the Giants' vice president of pro scouting. Apparently, he impressed like crazy on his interview, and they wanted to bump him up to GM. We even talked a little bit about the before we started how GMs are kind of useless at this moment when you got a president of baseball operations. But and I don't want to harp on this too much because we're going to talk about this later. This is a Dodger podcast, so I just think it's funny that it's weird that Buster Posey, every single time people talk about him, they're talking about how he wants to distance himself from the everyday role of being a president of baseball operations. So this GM actually might have a little more responsibility in the day to day. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means if Buster Posey's 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So I guess we'll see. More on things to come.
Their first order of business is going to be a free agent who's a right fielder, right? That's probably their first call, right? And
okay, who we signed?
I got a little bit, just a little turned off by the comments after the World Series by him, and I'm definitely in the minority because it's Juan Soto. Everybody wants to sign him, and that's great. Right. I understand that. But you just lost the World Series, and they're asking you about your impending free agency, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't." He's like, people were chanting at you to stay, and they love you. Does that help? Does that hurt? What do you think? He's like, "Oh no, everybody's got a chance." Like, you just lost the World Series. The wound is fresh for these fans, man.
Yeah, I 100% thought the same thing. I was like, well, that's what you want to say, but I don't think it would take anything away from his free agency to be like, I would like to come back here. Obviously, it's not.
Yeah. And I mean, I would understand if he said this when like he literally carried the Yankees and he was the only guy on fire and he got no help, but he was okay. He was taking too many walks. Well, not too many walks, but he was taking a lot of walks. And, I don't know that he put a stamp on the World Series, without that home run. I don't know exactly if he really put a stamp on it.
Yeah, you're right. But at the same time, I think that was by design. I think the Dodgers were realizing Aaron Judge ain't shit right now. So we can go after Glaber, pitch around Juan Soto, go after Judge, pitch around Giancarlo Stanton, and then you're freaking coasting. And another time it's like you also are, if you're throwing so much out of the zone, you can't hit those pitches for power. So it's like you got to take your walks, but at the same time, if that's what the Dodgers are giving you, just shit pitches, because obviously, why are they going to pitch to you? You're doing good right now. Why are you going to pitch to Giancarlo Stanton? You're doing good right now when they're surrounded by guys who ain't doing shit. So I kind of don't fault him in that way, but I do get what you're saying.
But and let me just ask you one thing. Obviously, again, I'm in the minority. The way I'm seeing things is maybe a little bit different, but because they're like, oh, the Dodgers might sign him or whatever, and I don't think that's going to happen at all.
No.
But do you think he's too passive of a hitter? Because he took so many walks willingly when there was a lot of pitches that he just took right over the middle. And I heard this a lot from the Padres fans back in 2022. Like, man, hit the ball. Stop taking walks. You're more of a threat when you swing the bat. And if he's on a team with, say, the Dodgers, when you have like Ohtani or Mookie, somebody behind him to bring him in
between Mookie and Freddie,
right?
Yeah, you're probably going to be all right.
You're probably all right. But if your big bat is going to be Matt Chapman, this guy does not run. Once he gets to first, he's not fleet of foot. He doesn't have the best defense. He has a great bat when he swings it. And he has a great eye because he always walks. So does that scare you in any way?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, 100%. I think they would have to. The thing is, they have guys that they really believe in that are coming out, and I think that they're guys. They have a lot of really solid um, everyday players now. I think Fitzgerald is an everyday player. I think Heliot Ramos is an everyday player. I don't think they're bums and by any means. I think they're only going to get better. But you would need a second star to go along with Soto. Soto's not someone who can carry you for a really long time. That's not true. He can carry you for a long time. There's just times where he chooses not to because he's going to take his walk. He's okay with walking, and I think that I get why, but I also understand that the Giants can't survive with that kind of mentality unless Bryce Eldridge is that dude and he's supposed to be the shit and all that in a bag of chips. And if he is, and you have, a good leadoff guy, you got Juan Soto batting second and Bryce Eldridge hitting third, and he's the guy, and Matt Chapman fourth, and Heliot Ramos after that. I think that that's cool. But that is scary because what if Fitzgerald and Heliot Ramos take a step back? What if Matt Chapman is just the same, good, but nothing like incredible offensively? And you just got Juan Soto up there walking every day, and Bryce Elder is one of those, Giants prospects that never happens, like we've been dealt with for the past 10, 15 years, 10 years, whatever. Then yeah, we're gonna be fucked. We're gonna be paying this dude $600 million to have a 400 on base, hit 20 home runs, and
Because
just
that's the thing.
satisfied with his walks.
There were some people rumoring that he wants to get 700 million, and I'm like, man, that's a lot for a guy that
There's no way. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, there's
no.
I mean, you never know with Scott Boras. You never know what he can get you.
But I'm sorry, but Shohei is you can't go on Shohei money because Shohei brings an entire country. Like Japan's support for baseball is nothing beyond, not even like in America. Like America doesn't even support a baseball player the amount that Japan shows love for Shohei Ohtani. Like in the Dominican Republic's not doing that for Juan Soto, mainly because there's a lot of good players from the Dominican Republic. I think there's a lot, when someone comes over here in Japan's like, that's our effing guy, especially when he's like the number one guy. So
it's different. It's very different because the Japanese people have said, like, he's like, it's not the fact that he's playing baseball. It's the fact that he's one of us and he's succeeding in something. He just transcends baseball. It's just a different kind of culture for them, and it's just different. And you're right. So Soto doesn't do that, and to pay him that much when his biggest asset is the bat, and if he doesn't swing it, then you're like, what are we paying for? Because the defense isn't great, and he's not going to steal backs for you. So that's still, I mean, and I'm not trying to diminish his talent because he's all world class, definitely. Right. But you saw it this series. If Judge is down, he wasn't carrying you. Right. And if Stanton wasn't playing like he was, that is even like Series. They probably don't even pitch to him. Yeah. So it's it's not a guy that's going to carry you for a long period.
I mean, he's a little better than I think maybe what you're. I don't think he's only good for walking, but I get what you're saying. It is scary.
Well, I'm just saying when he's stuck in that mentality, when he's stuck in like I'll take my walks kind of thing,
right?
It brings like his value a little down. But I'm not diminishing what he is. He's great, and obviously I'd take him if he was willing to come to the Dodgers, right? But I'm just saying for other teams that don't have the players that the Dodgers have around him,
right,
it would be an iffy move for me because you're spending so much of your money on that guy.
Right. If Aaron Judge was 26, yeah, give him 600 million, 650. Fuck it, dude. Go get him. One thing you also have to realize too, I mean, Juan Soto technically is about like 20. That's your prime from like 26, 27 to like 31 is like is their main prime, So he's only gonna get better. I mean, there might be a period where he's like, you know what, fuck this. I'm gonna go 2 inches outside the zone and I'm just gonna take over. And I think he has a talent to do it. It's just he hasn't shown that he can, and he's okay with taking his walks. So is scary.
If we face the 2019 Soto this year, it's a different series. That guy was mashing everything in those playoffs. So it's just a little bit different. Maybe he's maturing and he takes the while. I don't know, but
I think also too, he's thinking, and when a player reaches free agency, you can't get mad at them for going for the bag. You think of, well, if I go into this postseason and my on base percentage is high, I'm getting the same amount of money. If I go out there and swing out of the zone, I'm striking out all over the place. My money might go down a little bit. So I'm just going to play it safe. And at the same time, he played for New York for one season. I mean, to say he has to bleed for the team or he has to play with such, devotion and passion, it's like he doesn't need to. You got him for 1 year. I mean, you knew what the deal was. Like, it's like you're committing to being a friends with benefits with person. You can't expect them to give you marriage, marriage comfort. You're signed up for friends with benefits, dude. That's what it is. You signed up for me for 1 year. I'm gonna try to go get my bag, dude. I gotta do me. So,
and obviously we don't know what he's thinking, but this is a guy that turned down 500 million plus already. So,
yeah. And he's gonna get. And here's the thing. He turned like 550 down or 540, something like that. Mm-hmm. And no, I think it was like 440. It was under 500 million. No,
it was 5. It was like 515, I think.
Okay. But since then he's gotten 2 years of like 20 million and then almost 30 million. So he's already like 60 million on that. So if you offer him 550 now, technically that contract would have been over 6. So,
but it baffles me a little bit because I do think that he's all about the money at this point, only because he already won a championship. So he could already cross that off this list at the very beginning of his career, which is crazy. And then you go to Petco, to the Padres. How do you not fall in love with that team? They're a fun team from the outside. Right. They got a great fan base, and he gets traded to, of all people, New York, another great the cathedral and all that. It's all the history. Yeah, and like you don't fall in love with that either. It just shows yeah, man, I think this guy, he already got his chip. He's looking for the bag.
Which I feel like you can't blame him because it's not like he's leaving the team that has shown him so much love and stuck with him and he should have all this loyalty to. That team was like, you're not going to sign this contract? Psh, you're gone. And the Padres are like, oh, we want to save a little bit on payroll. Yankees, you want them? Psh, you're gone. So it's like, if I'm getting passed around, I'm getting my bag. I don't care. And I don't blame any player for getting their bag, but that player too, you can't expect a fan base to embrace you and have as much grace for you when you fail, when you have that big bag. I think if you get a big bag, but you stay with the same team, you should get a little bit more grace because you're showing that you want to stay with one organization, and those fans probably adore you more than, any other free agency. So you get certain perks. It's just,
and we'll obviously talk more about it when we get to our free agency episode, but fresh off the World Series and he just played, and I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure this is going to be a lot. This is not going to be the last time we're going to talk Juan Soto. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Juan Soto and thumbnails and Juan Soto on the taglines coming up. But yeah, this is the Dodger episode. We get it. It is what it is. I feel like you knew it was going to happen. With everything going on, obviously the Fernando Valenzuela stuff happening, and it's like, obviously you're not rooting for that, but when it happens, you're like, it just seems like when something like that happens, it's like, oh man, some sports team's gonna.
There was just a lot of similarities to past seasons and stuff like that, and the hobbled first baseman. Apparently, they both homered at
the walk off on game 1.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you look for enough stuff, you can see it. They got their number 8 championship in the year 24 for Kobe's,
right.
And then they were able to celebrate their parade on Fernando Valenzuela's birthday. And so it just all came together. You don't want to say it was destiny because you kind of diminish everybody else's accomplishments.
Nah, it was destiny.
For us, we'll just say it was because it was just finally the culmination of so many things. Yeah.
That's what all those little things is kind of what makes it special. And and it also shows you how rare it is too, that you can't just be going and thinking you're going to win the World Series at the beginning of the season. So, but we'll be covering all that, all the next year and all that kind of stuff, as it comes out, but yeah, thank you guys for hanging out for this very special episode. Make sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcasting platform, as well as YouTube. Make sure to hit like buttons, all that kind of stuff, and help us grow. Follow us on the socials: Instagram, Benches Cleared Podcast; Twitter, Benches Cleared P; and TikTok, Benches Cleared. Dave, what do you got for him?
I am trying to look for one of our guys. He's like, you guys want it all. Can't wait to see what you and Jesse, that next episode. So I want to say thank you for listening to us. Shout out to my uncle Vic, who he said he started listening to it. He loves what we do too. He's listened to every podcast so far that we've done together, and shout out to him and everybody out there that we celebrated today. And happy, just remember this feeling, because nobody can take it away, and it's amazing. And just hold on to it till the next season, because we finally did it. We're champs.
I can't take it away from you, but I will try to take it away from you every single week. So, that's what I do. Yes. So thank you guys. We'll see you next week, and just appreciate you for staying with us all season. New format. I think we're doing great. Dave, I love you, and we'll see you guys.
Love you too, buddy. Love you too.
And we'll see you guys next week.